Apple released the $599 MacBook Neo, and because of the price, most people dismiss it thinking that it's not any good. And truthfully, you might be one of those people because I certainly was. Well, the truth is that the MacBook Neo has no business being this good for this much money. Let's get into it. Now, just so we're all on the same page, this is Apple's first generation MacBook Neo. Is released in March of 2026. And I'm not going to talk about speeds and feeds. As someone who's worked in IT for the past 20 years, helping businesses make decisions on technology, I'm going to use my own experience, and that is where we're at today. So let's start with what you actually get for $599. Now for me, the MacBook Neo is genuinely very surprising to see. It has an all aluminum design, it doesn't feel cheap, it doesn't flex, and it's about the same size and weight as the MacBook Air, coming in at 2.7 pounds. It's slightly taller, but narrower than the MacBook Air. Now this is the kind of thing that you're gonna put in your bag or your backpack, and you're not gonna even think twice about it because of its weight. It does come in 4 colors. We have silver, blush, this wonderful color indigo, and citrus, which I thought citrus was going to be the winner, but it's not. It's actually going to be indigo for sure. And all of the keyboards are color matched to the device. Now there are 2 different versions of the MacBook Neo available. One is 256 gigs without Touch ID for $599, and then the other is 512 gigs of storage with Touch ID for $699. Now that $100 increase, in my opinion, delivers significant value, but 1, because you're doubling the storage, of course, but 2, because you're adding Touch ID. Unless you have an Apple Watch, it's kind of a pain in the butt to go ahead and type in your password all the time. So I would say that if the $699 one is the option I would go ahead and choose from. Right now, they're about 3 weeks behind in back order, but I think that without a doubt, that is the size and configuration that you would get. If you are a student, you're gonna get an additional $100 discount, bringing the $699 version down to $599. So it's actually a very good deal. Everything else between these 2 devices are the same other than storage and Touch ID. Now this has a 13-inch liquid retina display that's 2408 by 1506. That's the display resolution. Now it's really going to be crisp enough for the majority of folks that are out there with 218 pixels per inch, which Apple calls retina quality, while being bright enough for someone at 500 nits of brightness. That means you can use it outside. You can't use it at 12 o'clock noon with the sun shining directly down on it, but it's gonna be bright enough for most conditions. On the port side, it has 2 USB-C ports. It has 1 port in the back, which is USB 3.0, and then the one in the front is USB 2.0, which we're gonna come back to in just a few minutes, so stick around for that. Now the maximum output display resolution is 4K, and it will work with the Apple's new Studio Display and Studio Display XDR at that maximum of 4K. Now, fun fact, even though the MacBook Neo does not have a True Tone sensor, it will use the True Tone sensor from the Studio Display or the Studio Display XDR, and then adjust its screen color appropriately. And in case you're not familiar with what True Tone is, it's a way of color matching the display to the ambient light that's going on in the room to give you a better viewing experience, kind of like where it makes paper look like paper. That's probably a good way of explaining it. Now, staying along the edges of the display, the MacBook Neo does not have a notch like the MacBook Air or MacBook Pro, which I have no idea why. So all the bezels are going to be uniform. And inside that notch is going to be hiding a 1080p FaceTime camera, which we're going to talk about more in the experience section coming up next. Now, it is completely fanless design, 0 active cooling, 0 noise, but you are getting a full macOS experience for that $599. Now, this does include Wi-Fi 6E, meaning that it's fast enough to get about 300 megabits per second downlink on your home network if it does support it. Now, what it doesn't have is backlit keys, 1, and it doesn't have MagSafe. So that means that you are going to use one of those 2 ports on the side of the machine to go ahead and charge it. It will charge at a maximum rate of about 30 to 35 watts, charging from 0 to full in about 4 hours with the included 20-watt charger that comes in the box. It's included in the US. I actually don't know if it's included anywhere else in the world. If you have one already, let me know if it's included in your box. But here in the US, it is included. The battery is rated for about 16 hours of video streaming or 11 hours of web surfing. Now, on the surface, what makes the MacBook Neo both remarkable and concerning at the same exact time is what is underneath the hood. Now, the Neo uses Apple's A18 Pro chip from the iPhone 16 Pro, which gives it 8 gigs of RAM, a 6-core CPU with 2 performance cores and 4 high-efficiency cores, and a 5-core GPU. Now, I don't know about you, but an iPhone chip running this computer, this is absolutely wild in 2026. Apple's using a speaker design on the MacBook Neo, which fires outwards from the sides. Now, they're good for casual listening, honestly, they are. But if you are someone who really cares about audio, you won't be satisfied with that, but you'll probably want to connect either your AirPods or the EarPods, because those are making a big comeback right now, to the included 3.5mm jack that is on the right-hand side of the device. Now, like me, you probably think that having 8 gigs of RAM limits how this device will perform and really kind of the usability and extendability of this device for a long period of time. I mean, it is the same chip from the iPhone 16, which is already a year old at this point. Well, stick around for a few minutes here because I was surprised by what I found, and I think you are going to be equally surprised. Okay, so I've been using this thing as my daily machine for about a month now, and this isn't like a press loaner. I'm not using this for a weekend. This is the same machine that I picked up in Austin right before the Google event. Everything from admin work, email, notes, productivity, like content work, this device handles it all. And here is some real talk for you. The 8 gigs of RAM, it had me a little bit nervous. But in reality, at this workload, this doesn't even service as an issue. macOS efficiently manages its memory, and you should even see it as a concern. Now, swap memory will come up, all right, because of this way the storage is and the way the operating system is, but this is not something that you're gonna feel or frankly even care about, but what you will absolutely feel is the size of this machine. The size means that the MacBook Neo goes wherever you go. This is the machine that you reach for, not the one that you plan to take with you, if that makes sense, right? It's just like a spontaneous or instantaneous machine that you wanna bring with you. And that's what makes the MacBook Neo, I think, again, genuinely surprising to use and carry with you from day to day. For anyone working from meetings, coffee shops, quieter environments, it's worth more than it sounds on paper in terms of the size. Over the past month, I've been getting about 10 hours of usage, meaning it lasts me a couple days in between charges. So if you're somewhere like you're using at a conference or you're a very heavy user, you're gonna need to take an external battery pack with you. But for most people, most normal use, you're gonna be totally fine. Now let's switch gears to the FaceTime camera, which is 1080p. And I think it works, well-ish under most lighting conditions. I mean, that's gonna be the truth. It's not like a super high resolution 4K camera, and that's not what you're paying for. But I think the real unlock is when you use your iPhone's front-facing camera, or rear-facing camera even, as the continuity camera when taking FaceTime calls. Now, it is worth noting that the device supports the full line of Apple's continuity features, including handoff and iPhone mirroring, all the features. So, when you're taking a FaceTime call, whether you want to go ahead and control your iPhone on the MacBook Neo. The other thing worth noting is the trackpad, which is completely different. And it sounds stupid, like when, I'm telling you this, I'm just telling you my experience, okay? So don't judge. The trackpad is actually genuinely refreshing to use because it's a physical trackpad, not a haptic trackpad like it is on the MacBook Air or the MacBook Pro, or even on the Magic Trackpad accessory. So when you click it, it gives a nice tactile response. It also means that, since it is physical, when you power off the device, you can still click it, right? So that is something that still works. So just be aware of that. You can still do all the features, and you can actually turn on touch to tap feature in the operating system. I'll put the instructions right below the screen here where you can find that to use. Now, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are a few friction points from my perspective that I'm going to contextualize for you so you can make the judgment call on whether they're actually going to matter for you. First, the backlit keys, or more accurately, the lack thereof. If you work in a low light environment regularly, depending on how your accuracy of typing, you might have trouble here. I like to use my MacBook while I'm sitting on my couch, kind of like as a dual screen device. I'm watching TV, might be watching Netflix, something in the background that's just kind of filling time. And in that kind of cozy environment where all the lights are kind of warm, it's hard for me to see my keyboard. I'm still a good typer, but I just don't necessarily have maybe the confidence to type that well, and I have to go back. Second, it's gonna be the port situation. USB 3.0 in the back, USB 2.0 in the front, and logic would tell us that, hey, you know what? I'm just always gonna use the USB 3.0 port that's in the back. Well, if you have your computer connected to an external display, maybe over HDMI, you need to have a breakout dongle, and that breakout dongle will need to be connected to the USB 3.0 port. Well, the fix, it is easy. Get a USB hub or a dock at your desk. This is gonna give you a single connection to your monitor, whether it's HDMI or USB-C, as well as giving you a few extra ports that you can use for other accessories and peripherals like storage as well. Now, you would think that with the limited battery life and the limited throughput speed of the ports, this device, it doesn't really earn a spot in someone who works in technology all day. Well, let's find out how the MacBook Neo completely contradicts that thought. So here's where it gets real for me. My MacBook Pro, it lives on my desk. It hardly ever moves. It's recording all this video right now, so I don't want to move it and kind of mess anything up. And the MacBook Neo, it goes everywhere else. And once I set that up, the role clarity for me was crystal clear. I knew which device served which role. And this is not my primary machine. I'm gonna be honest with you. It is a deliberate second tool, something I have in my tool belt that I'm gonna use when I have the opportunity to. It's not cheap by any means, but it is affordable, and that is the thing I cannot underscore enough. There is a difference. This machine knows the difference, and it has a certain job to be done. There's something about having a second machine that just changes the way that you use it. And if you're upgrading from an older Mac, I think that the measurement of how this device performs is not against a MacBook Pro or a MacBook Air, but you measure it against what you have right now. That is the comparison. Now, here's the thing I did not expect. Going into this, I assumed that the battery life, the processor, all that would be a limitation to how I would use the device, and it would really be kept out of any type of serious workflow, easily dismissing it as something that cannot accomplish or complete real work. But after a month of usage and me rethinking how I'm using this, that assumption was completely wrong. The processor and its capabilities actually hold up for me when I give it a certain job to be done. But for me, the deeper question is, can this replace my iPad Pro? It's looking good, the jury's still out, but I will be sure to update you as I progress. So get subscribed if you want to learn more about how the MacBook Neo holds up long term. Who is this computer for? Well, first and most importantly, if you just need a capable, affordable computer, whether it's your first computer, whether you're a student going away from school, whether you want to get into some type of content creation, the MacBook Neo is at a practical price and performance level, in my opinion, that does not ask you to compromise. You have to be realistic, but it doesn't ask you to compromise. Second, if you already own a capable Mac that's at your desk, maybe you have an iMac, maybe you have a Mac Mini, you want to add a second computer because you want a little bit more versatility in your workflow, this is the portable machine that I think that you want. It's probably better than an iPad for most situations. But third, if you've been defaulting to using your phone for work when you really should be using a Mac, the full keyboard, Mac OS, you get Finder, not Files, this is the machine. But absolutely give it a hard pass if you need one machine that does everything. You already know that you have a complex workflow because you're gonna bring the MacBook Neo to a grinding halt. And you guys know who you are. You're like editing 10 streams of 8K footage. This is not gonna work for you. It flatly will not. And you wanna skip it if your current portable setup is just genuinely working because there's no point in fixing something that's not broken. Now my verdict is I am keeping it because I can leave my MacBook Pro on my desk and take this with me places that I didn't expect to, or maybe where I would have brought my iPad Pro. And because it has a full keyboard, full Mac OS, and I'm not making compromises on like the apps I want to use to open things or to work in things, for me, it's a value add. Now, will that hold up long term? I think so, but again, we're going to find out here. And I'm all about optimizing my workflow to figure out where things fit in the best, and that's just kind of how I am. But I think that the MacBook Neo is a total steal at $599 if you're buying the 256, $699 if you're buying the 512. And I like it a lot. It's a great computer, minus those couple things that I mentioned. Now, the one thing I want you to take away from this is that affordable does not mean compromise. It means focused. And the MacBook Neo knows exactly what it is and what it needs to do. And if you have that problem, the MacBook Neo solves it very well. If this video reframed how to look at the MacBook Neo, consider giving this video a like and consider subscribing for more decision framing content just like this. Now, the next video in the series is going to be my 2026 MacBook Buyer's Guide. If you want to get that, make sure you get subscribed. Guys, my name is Mike, and I am out of here.